So I'm going to go ahead and glue this down, and that way I'll be ready to score it and I can get a good score mark. Okay, with this, the same thing. We're just going to trim that up, leaving just a little bit of black showing there, because we are going to put bling around this. Okay, now let's get our scoreboard out. And all I'm going to do is I'm not so much going to look at where I'm going to be measuring up. I'm just going to score it about a 16th up. About a 16th up from the Crafty. So I'm going to grab that right there. Now this needs to be thick in order to get around all of this. So once I've got that scored, and I can kind of look to see how much space. And now that I've got that first score down, I can flip this over. And we are going to go ahead, and I am going to give you the measurement. Let's go ahead and do a quarter. There we go. That should be good to get around. And so there's that. Okay, this part is very simple. We're not going to glue this yet though, okay? This part is very simple, and it's the same, get this out of the way, the same thing. We are going to go ahead, and I'm going to flip my butterflies, and do the same thing here. I'm going to go ahead and cut it. You don't have to do the arrow on this one, so we're going to go ahead and do some scoring first before we glue this down. And you will want to do a mark, just a hair underneath there for our first score, like we did on that one. And then what we're going to want to do is do about so we are going to do 3/16. So now that I got that, there goes my magnets. This should fit nice. Okay, I lost my magnets. They're stuck to the bottom of my scoreboard. Okay, now for magnet placement. Your first magnet, you're going to want to do is flip this over, and you're going to put some glue here, white glue. If you need to use a little hot glue, whatever you need, but we're going to put that right there. There we go. Okay, so I've got this down. I got glue seeping out the sides. I'm not going to worry about that. Okay, now for this, the easiest way that I know how to tell you to do this is the same way you did before, but coming on the inside. Okay, and once I got that bent where I want, I'll try and see how that looks. And that looks fairly decent. I think that that's just fine. And now all I'm going to do is add glue underneath, and I want to make sure I get a lot of glue where that tip is. and then we're going to stick it down. Make sure you smooth this really good. Okay. Let me get this stuff out of my way. We have this and this done. This is the first thing that we want to do. Is now that these two are done, the magnet is under here, we do need to attach this. Okay, all I do is grab it like this where it's in the middle and flip it over. And I'm going to get it pretty good here. Make sure this stays. Alright. So you should have a nice even at the top. It is time to go ahead, before we glue this down, we do need to put this on. I think it's going to be easiest this way. This is how I usually do it. And make sure we are even and up. I need to scoot this over a bit. Now if you are, I'm even now. Now if you are a hair off to the side, your magnet will fix that for you. I do have it pretty even. I pinch it here so it don't move on me. I turn it over and get some glue on there. And hopefully it stayed where it was supposed to. And I think that's good. Okay. So the first thing I like to do is dab a little glue on the mate. Put it on up here. Okay, so it's going to stick to the other magnet. Oops. Line it up, press down, and you should have a mark here with glue. If you don't get it the first time, and there. Now what I am going to do is go ahead, and this should be right on. Let's see. Yep, very much so. And I think he moved. It did. Smeared right off. It's pretty strong magnets. Okay. We're going to go ahead and, wrong one, butterfly to butterfly. We're going to go ahead and put this piece right over the top, and you're going to want to put some glue there. And I took my tip off. I'm soaking it right now. There. Now, the moment of truth. It's not flip-flopping around. And I added another magnet to the other album to fix that one, and that one's good to go. Alright, so now what we're going to go ahead and do is we can go ahead and put this, glue this down now. Now if you are using weak magnets like I used on the other album, what you can do is put the magnet on the outside here. Okay, and then put the magnet underneath this one. And if your magnets are real weak, then I don't know what to do other than to put it on the outside here and maybe put in a thin little centimeter part of a flower petal over it to hide it, unless you don't care. They show. I've had mine show before and not worry about it. Okay, we do need to decorate this, and this is real simple. We're going to go ahead and grab our bling on the roll. And all we're going to do here is on the outside from the top, we're going to measure down the side here and kind of like so. And I would snip it at this point. So that'll be for that. And then I'm going to be right here. Make sure it connects to that. And then I'm just going to measure out what I need so I don't have the whole thing flopping around on me. I'm pretty sure I've got what I need. And with this, you can, to help you get started, you can definitely use a little hot glue to help it get started. And if you're afraid that your glue is going to show, if you're a hot gluer, you know, some sort of white glue that, and I have to be very careful right now. I took my tip off, so I've got, and I'm barely touching it, and I don't want to waste, so I'm going to have some wiping off to do here. Yeah. There we go. And all I'm going to do there is pat it down and pull down to keep it straight. And I'm going to go ahead and go all the way around. Okay, so I got the bling on the roll around this. I did use this die, the Birds in Bloom, and it is the this cutout here, and of course the stamp that coordinates with it. And I just colored the leaves with lettuce and oregano, and I used Currant on the blooms, and there is a little bit of yellow in the middle, and then the liquid pearls. Okay, so I went ahead and die cut and created this with the colors I told you. However, what I did do on this particular, and you're going to save it, is you are going to snip off, and Wink Stella is all over this, and I used the liquid pearls. So what I did is snip off this piece, and I'm going to reserve this. Okay, and this piece actually goes right about like this, and I did also take this piece off, and you will use it, so don't lose it. A lot of hard work and inking and everything. So this piece is going to get glued just like, actually turn this around, the bigger flowers are at the bottom. So this piece actually gets glued down right like this. And then we have the butterfly. And I'm going to tell you really quick how I did this butterfly, if you like it. It is the larger die cut butterfly. And I did stamp it with the mushroom. The butterfly is located in the die Botanical Wings. It's this one. And then the coordinating stamp is on the Botanical Wings, and right up here in the corner there. And the colors I used for this is I colored the whole thing with lemonade, and then I covered it with butterscotch, and then, believe it or not, I used cranberry around the edges, and then I lightly brushed it. I then hit it with Wink Stella and glitter glue, or your stickles. I just glopped some on and rubbed it all over with my fingers. So I got pretty close when I created it. So I'm going to go ahead and apply glue here to the back. I'm going to stick it down, and then the butterfly goes right like this. And the reason why I chose these colors is it actually really brings out the life of the other colors. The last thing is to go ahead and attach a button of your choice. Any button will do. And I am going to go ahead, I think, and use this one. And this page is done. The only thing we have to do now is to put it in our book. So let's go ahead and apply the score tape around the perimeter of this. And on this one, you're going to need 2 down the middle. Got my score tape on the back. I've removed it, and I want to come in about, a 1/4 of an inch from the side. And then I'm going to make sure that I've semi-lined up here, just a hair underneath the top thing, so when my other page sits over here, and this might make it easier for you, you know your other page is going to sit right here, so if it's easier, as you can see here, you can line it up like this. It's kind of hard for me to see, but I think that is pretty straight. I'm going to double check. That looks good to me. And then I'm going to get it down. Now to make sure I've got everything down here, I am going to open it up. and press down on the middle and all the edges. And this page is done. Looks pretty good. Thank God for editing. I'm actually had to go back from page 2 to do something I forgot. So, with that being said, here, what you're going to want to do is locate this piece. And since I'm backtracking, you'll find it on the side of this. There's a bunch of sentiments off here: bloom, dream, special wishes. You'll go ahead and cut that down. And when we start to work on page 2, I'll be telling you to do the same thing. So you already have that piece cut. You don't need to cut a new piece. So bloom is supposed to sit here. And also a butterfly. And that's what it looks like. Bloom is backed with some crafty cardstock. Go ahead and glue that down and then cut a 1/16 of an inch all the way around that. And for this little butterfly, you can use stone washed, you can use stream. What I did was I first went and put a little pink around here and some lemonade. I did stream around the edges, and then I got most of the ink off my dauber of stream, and then I lightly went and colored in here. I hit it with Winkostella, and then I went back and put some of the stickles like right on his body and at the tips. And then I used the liquid pearls right here. I put one here, one here, one here, and one here. So your page should look like that. And that is, whoops, done. And I still have wet pearls. Page 2 is very simple. It's a pocket and it has some embellishments. It does have this fancy trim, which is a Spellbinder's border trim. If you don't have that, any other trim piece, or like I said, if you have none of the punches or trim pieces, go ahead and go flat across. So we're going to go ahead and get started with gathering what we need for this. Okay, so in your reserves you did have a 6 by 8 inch sheet. You will need that for your base sheet. The next thing is in your reserve scrap pile. You will have had this. You want this sheet, so cut that on down. You also want the, whoops, this piece, and that was found on the back sheet with all those cutouts. You're going to go ahead and grab a piece of cardstock, and I went ahead and just chopped it off at 4.5 inches right down. And what this is going to do is you want a piece that is big enough to be able to wrap the sides around this piece. So I've got those pieces all set off to the side. It's time for me to use my Spellbinder die, and it's the S5181 A2 bracket borders 1. The two that I have used is this one, and you'll notice at the top there is a little diamond. It's that one and not the pearl shaped one at the top there. So with my 4.5 inch sheet, what I am going to do is first lay this down in the middle, making sure the tip of this is at the tip of the cardstock, and I am centered where I have both sides so that I can wrap it around. The next thing is I do lay this right up there, and it will nestle in right together like that. And I'm going to stick my tape down. Now I'm going to run it through the die cutter. I ran this through the die cutter, so now I am going to carefully take this off because I am going to reserve this little piece up here. All you're going to do is snip it from the side as straight as you can. Okay. The next thing is you are going to take this piece, place your piece that you need for your pocket on your die cutter machine, and again line up the tip and make sure this is across. It will fit exactly 6 inches. And now I'm going to go ahead and run it through. So this ran through the die cutter, and again carefully remove the tape. You are going to reserve these two pieces here. So you should have this piece and it should butt right on up underneath this one, just like that. Right like that. And I am going to make a cut 3 7/16 right down here. Is it coffee time? I think it is. You should have this piece right like this now. And what you're going to go ahead and do is you're going to glue this down. But once I glue that down, it'll be ready to go. One thing I want to tell you is that when you're cutting these at 6 inches, like with my paper cutter, my paper cutter has a folding mechanism right at around the 6-inch mark. So every time I line mine up where I think it should be 6 inches, it's not. So be sure before you even attempt to glue this or even assemble this, check to make sure that you're at 6 inches. And I am a hair over 6 inches, so I would overhang over the black. So I do need to trim this piece down. So now all I'm going to do is put the score tape down at the bottom like we've done on other pockets. Put this down and wrap the corner or the ends around the back. So we are here. There is one more piece I do need you to get. Grab this sheet out of your pack. I want you to go ahead and cut right on down here to get these sentiments off. You want the dream one. Okay, if you're using the Crafty and you had your strip that I had you reserve, you're going to go ahead and glue this down, leaving a 1/16 around the edges. You're going to cut it, and of course here as well. I did back the dream sentiment with Crafty, doing the same thing, a 1/16 of an inch all the way around. I did not back this one. And you're also going to want to get a small little piece of trim out, lace trim, and I will give you a measurement of what I used here in just a moment after I get my pieces cut out. If you're die cutting, the flower that is used over here is a double layer, and it is these sizes. This one is one down from the largest, and I went ahead and I layered it. There are 2 leaves. The colors I used on this was I did it all in butterscotch, and then I used currant, dark around the edges, and lightly swept over that to change its color. Winkastella and a flat back pearl. And then I did the same thing with the very small one. It's going to be a single layer. And I went heavy on the butterscotch and even lighter with the currant to give it just a slightly different color. And Winkastella goes on that, and the liquid pearl goes in the middle. Okay, I've got my flowers done. I've got my leaves done. The only thing left I have to do is hit it with Winkastella. And now we have a butterfly, and I'm going to show you the original one. And on this particular one, what I did was I did yellow and latte in the middle, and then I hit it with pink. And then I actually used lettuce, but I made sure most of the ink was off the dauber, and I brushed it, and then I put lemonade over it. In here was a cranberry in here, and then I kind of went over it with just a little bit of currant. Currant is around the edges, and again there is the lettuce here. And I went ahead and hit it with Winkostella, and this one has the glossy accents on it. And then on the edges you will find Stickles Gold or glitter glue right here on each one of the edges. Also at the end of the antenna. Okay, my butterfly is still wet. I took a little scrap piece of lace, and it's only 2 inches long, and it's about a 1/2 inch tall. So let's go ahead and layer this down. And the first piece you are going to want is this one. And I am going to grab my glue. And this one goes right here, slightly off outside the edge. The next piece that is going to be laid is the leaves right off to the side. I've got my little flower here that lays right here, and I'm going to hit that with hot glue for a quick glue down. I think my liquid pearl in the center is still wet. Okay. You're going to want to put this flower down first, and then what you are eventually going to do is end up sliding this underneath. So I'm going to get the flower down. Oops. My hair clip keeps hitting the camera. Okay, so the glue, I'm going to use a white glue here, and this is just going to lay right across the side. And put a little glue, and it goes over the leaf partially. And sorry, I'm looking at the original too. My head keeps bumping. So I'm going to go ahead and get that down. Okay. The dream. We're going to go ahead and place the dream. I'm going to use hot glue. Whoops. And that slides right underneath here, like this. Hopefully I'm straight. We're going to grab this piece, and it just gets tucked right underneath here. And my butterfly is still wet, but he goes right like that. And this page is almost complete. All we need to do is get our bling if you want to go ahead and add that special accent like I did. And this is the really easy part, so you don't need to see everything. But you only need to this point right underneath that, because you can't see it anyway. So all I do here is go right underneath this dip if you're using this. If not, follow along your edge and glue it down. Page 2 is complete. We're going to go ahead and put score tape around the perimeter, one strip down the bottom or down the middle, and you are going to center this like so. Make sure you have a little black showing on each side. Careful not to get on your hinge. And we're going to go ahead and hear that down. Move on to page 3. Page 3. This is a very beautiful page. You've got your fold up, your fold out, and we have a small trim pocket here. Pocket here and here. You already know how to do pockets, so this should fly right by. The papers you're going to need. In your reserve scrap pile, you will find this one. You are going to go ahead and grab this sheet and cut this piece out. You've already got this in your scrap sheet where this used to have sentiments. You're going to go ahead and cut this panel out. You're going to cut this panel out. And you want this sheet. On the back is this, and you're going to cut this right down at 6 inches. This was the left side, this was the right side. Right side goes in your reserves. You're going to go ahead and take this, turn it, measure up 8 inches, and cut it. You're going to grab a piece of cardstock, just like this, measure over 5 3/4, and cut it. You are going to grab this piece now. You're going to measure in 1/8 from the edge here and cut it. And you're going to do the same on this side. After you trim down the sides, you will notice that this will fit nice where you have just a little black around each side. I want you to go ahead and do the same with this one. Looking at your card front or front of your fold out front, at the top I need you to take 1/8 off. You're going to go ahead now and put glue on the back of this, and you are going to place it at the bottom of this, glue it down. Grab your scoreboard, and you are going to score it. Here's the top, 6 inches. Now that you made that mark, flip it over, okay? And you are going to want to do a 1/8 score. And being that mine won't let me do it there we go, 1/8. You can fold it back now. When we do place this, and you can go ahead and trim off half this extra little flap here. So when we do eventually place this, we're not going to put it like over to the right. I wanted to make sure that this was more over to the left. Right there, but not yet. Looking at how this fits, it looks like it's a very snug fit. So what I want you to do is go ahead and take a 1/16 of an inch off each side. Grab your scrap piece off from when you were cutting this, and you're going to go ahead and turn this 2 5/8. You are going to cut it. I used this trim, and this is the little 1/2 inch trim, and I'm going to go ahead and go across. So I've gone ahead and done that. Our next step on this is we are going to go ahead and put our score tape down, glue, attach this, and wrap around the back. So your first fold out for the top is like this. You have this piece. Now we're going to go ahead and attach this. Now line yours up. Make sure you're not in the crease. If you are too tight, you can always trim a hair off the top. you should be at this point. Now on this particular piece, we do want the top half for our other fold out on the inside. However, we're going to go ahead and cut this piece right at the tip of this leaf, right across. So we are right here. What you want to do is place this down right here. You will notice that it is longer. So you are going to need to trim it on this side to fit your panel so that your masterpiece does not get chopped off anymore. And glue it down. Once you have that down, you're going to go ahead and glue down your lace, and I'm using the small off the Kaiser Craft. This piece is done. Set it off to the side. And now we're going to go ahead and grab this panel. You're going to grab a sheet of your cardstock, come over 5 3/4 and chop it down. You now are going to take 1/8 off each side. So trim it 1/8 here, 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 and here. Now, if you were to lay this down, you will see that this will fit nicely, leaving a little bit of black around the edges. We're going to do the same thing we did on that first fold out. We're going to go ahead and keep it right like this. We're going to set it on our scoreboard, and we're going to score just right above the top. And this is, let's see, turn it like this. So now turn it and place it on your scoreboard and get it right along the top. So I've gone ahead and just made a score right along, giving it about a 1/16 of an inch up, scored it right down, and you're going to go ahead and do another score mark about a 1/16. And you're going to fold it. And you're going to trim off half of this. Okay, so I've gone ahead and just folded it right on over so I can see what I need to see. And since this is a side, your flap is off to the left, and you're going to go ahead and glue down this first panel. Now what you're going to want to do is grab a piece of lace. You can use Kaiser Craft. I'm using my leftover Martha Stewart, the thinner one. I'm going to glue this down. And then I am going to go ahead and glue my bling right over the top little piece here. Okay, so I've got this panel down, and I've got my lace and my bling. One thing is I turned mine the other way. As you can see, the flowers are going this way, but it makes no difference. It still looks good either way. Go ahead and flip her on over, and we will get started on that. Go ahead and grab the leftovers after you made the first cut with the butterflies for it's the other part of this. What you're going to want to do is come over and 5 5/8. So go ahead and make a cut right on down. Now we're not going to wrap the pocket on this one, but we are going to go ahead and glue this down like so. Okay, in your scraps, you may find a piece that is 2 11/16, and what we're going to need to do is grab that. We're going to measure on over to 5 11/16, and we're going to go ahead and cut it right down. Next, we're going to go ahead and do our border punch. Okay, we're going to take our score tape, we're going to run it the whole perimeter around here, and we're going to dot some white glue up at the top. I'm going to go ahead and remove my score tape on the back, and I've got my glue on there, and all we are going to do is go ahead and make sure that this goes right on over and it's down so that it's going to fit. across and not be on the seams. In your scrap pile, you should find a piece that is this size that's going to fit nicely. And because we are going to put some lace trim coming down here so the black gets covered, but it's this one. We want this size. So we're going to go ahead and cut this down to fit, and I'm just going to make a mark and I'm going to slice it. I've got this glued down now, and the next thing I'm going to do is grab my Kaiser Craft, and it's this one. I'm going to measure across, snip it, and glue it down. In your scraps you will find this. The back side looks like that. Here's the front. We want happiness as being with you, so I'm going to cut it out. Okay, so I've cut it out. I am going to go ahead and ink around the edges, and once I do that, I am going to glue it right down here. And then all I'm going to do is place a flower right here. And the flower I'm going to place here, it was inked with butterscotch, then I went around with currant, and then I went over it with currant. And the inside is a liquid pearl. I'm going to go ahead and glue that right down here. Grab your base sheet there, and we're going to go ahead and measure down this and cut it off and glue it down. Now, if you were using the Spellbinder's die for the one pocket on the other page, you would have been left with this. Go ahead and glue the leftover piece here and here. If not, go ahead and cut a trim piece off of a scrap going across. If you're using that one leftover piece, which is about 6 inches, go ahead and snip off your excess. And now what you're going to want to do is you are going to go ahead at the very end where this meets. You are going to bring that right up like that. Glue it down. I'm going to go ahead and measure over about 3/8 and cut it. You should have a piece like this now. If you are doing your trim, go ahead and make sure you have that 3/8 underneath it. And we're going to go ahead and turn it over, put score tape up here, here, and over. And you are going to place this directly at the top against the side. Now grab any scrap lace and lay it over this. It's time to assemble. And my hands have glue on it. The bottom part of this hinge, the black part, is going to hit 1/8 of an inch up from the top of the center of this flower. And that's where I am. I'm going to go ahead and flip this over, and I'm going to glue it. We're ready to do this part. This one's easy. Just bring it all the way over, pinch it, turn it over, and glue it. On the original, I did not use magnets. However, let's go ahead and add some. This would be the perfect time to do it, if I can get my magnets apart. First thing that we want to do is, since there's no decorations up here and we still have yet to decorate here, let's go ahead and place a magnet right here. Alright, this is the easiest way, and we're going to flip it over. And your magnet will find its mate. And I don't want it sliding, so I'm going to stick a little hot glue, wipe the excess off, and that's how easy that is. Okay. We need to decorate this, and what we're going to go ahead and do is the same thing we did before. Ink it with the lettuce, or first the oregano around the edges and maybe blot a little bit, and then lettuce. The insides of these are lemonade, and then currant, dark around the edges, and very light towards the middle. Okay, here we go. I went ahead and I finished up inking my flowers and leaves. What we're going to do now is we're going to go ahead and cut a piece of lace to fit across the bottom, and I am going to go over the magnet and leaving the lace down. Then what I'm going to do is cut a piece of bling on the roll to fit over that. The next thing I'm going to do is we're going to find our sentiment, my everything. And you will find that it was connected to this. You're going to ink around the edges. You're going to cut a piece of crafty or black cardstock like we've been doing, leaving about a 1/16 or so around the edges. And you're going to make a bow. And I did use the Tim Holtz crinkle ribbon, and all I did with that was I cut a strip, I folded it over, and then made my bow. And then you're going to want, of course, a flat back pearl. So we've got all of our pieces, and I've already got glue on the back of this. The first thing you're going to do is want to lay this right down like so. And the tip of this can go over the side. This one leaf you can go ahead and put if your magnet is showing. And I'm going to go ahead and press this down. The next thing you're going to do is grab your sentiment, and that's going to glue down right here, and I have it to where I can tuck it right underneath this leaf. Okay. You're going to go ahead and grab your bow and put it right here. And you're going to go ahead and glue down your pearl. Now, you should have some reserved pieces if you were die cutting. Go ahead and snip off from the edge here on one and place it right here. And you can go ahead and snip off another one. And you're going to place it right here. This page is done. All we have to do is we're going to put score tape around the perimeter and right down the middle. And then we're going to center it on our page and glue it down. For page 4, you're going to need a few things. Go ahead and grab your sheet like this. You're going to turn it and cut it at 8 inches. You're going to need this, so set this off to the side. You're going to go ahead and find this in your reserves, and you're going to cut out this purple tag. And you're going to find a piece of scrap cardstock or cut a new one that is 3 1/4 inch long, and then wide enough to get around our page. Okay, we're going to set this off to the side, but first we're going to make sure that we're going to put this down on our page just to eyeball it and make sure that we are going to fit. I am using, on this page, I did use the Spellbinders borders. If not, you're going to want to cut or use your punches to go across, or you can have it straight across. I'm going to go ahead and center this, and then I am using this one. I'm going to go ahead and take my piece now, and I'm going to go ahead and snip straight across. Now you're going to go ahead and grab this piece. It's going to be on this side where it has the two. And all you're going to do is, if you're using this Spellbinders die, is take the thin bracket there and run it through the machine. I ran mine through the machine. I'm going to go ahead and stick these off to the side for reserves. Now all I'm going to do is place it like we did the other one, turn it, and cut it down to fit. Okay, I'm going to lay my score tape. I'm going to lay this down and wrap the edges around and glue that. We're going to take our piece and glue it on down. Next thing we're going to do is grab this, and we want our bling on the row. So you're going to actually not go all the way down. You're going to come up a hair, as you can see where I'm doing it. Whoops. And I'm going to go ahead, snip off. Some pieces here to go across. Got glue on me. And then I'm only going to come down on this side because we have layering to go over. And I'm only going to come down to about right here. And we're going to go ahead and glue those down. The next thing you're going to do is find a piece of scrap, a piece of crafty or black, and you're going to go ahead and get a 1/16 of an inch all the way around. I've gone ahead and glued down my crafty to the back, or your black cardstock, whichever you're using. Now it's time to glue this down right here. You're going to need several things now. If you're die cutting your flowers, you're going to need 2 of the largest, and then you're going to go ahead and need this size. You're going to need 2 butterflies, and they are these 2. You're going to go ahead and need 1 of these, and about a 2-inch strip of bling on the roll. For this flower, what I did was I inked it all over with butterscotch, and I went heavy on both these layers. Then I took Currant and went dark around the edges and did a clean swipe through all of these. And then I layered it and put a flat back pearl in there. For this piece, I did the same thing that I was doing before, inking the leaves, and I went ahead and I used lemonade all over the flowers, and then Currant around the edges, and liquid pearls in the middle. These butterflies, they're similar to the large one on the cover. On this one, what I used was lemonade in the middle, and then I went lightly in this area. I went with the Dusty Concord and lightly went on the next area. Currant went there. And then I did use, and you don't have to, I did use a little stone wash around here, and then I went back with Stream, dark on the edges, and blended it. In the middle is the gold stickles, and I did fill in his head, and then all I did was outline his body. And of course the Winkastella is on there. This one is the same thing. I went yellow, pretty dark in the middle, and up through this area. I did lightly with the Dusty Concord over that. And then what I did was I used the Stream right in through here lightly, and then I hit it with Currant on the edges. Liquid pearls were used in these 4 spots. I did put a dot of the stickles here, and down the middle is stickles. And it is brushed with Winkostella. And you can also add, and it looks like I did, the glossy accents. For this flower, all that was done is I went heavier with the butterscotch all over it, and then I used the Dusty Concord, and I went dark around the edges as much as I could, and then I brushed over it, and then I hit it with a little bit of cranberry on the edges, and there's a liquid pearl in the middle. Alright, we are ready to assemble. And the first thing is grab your larger of the two butterflies. It's going to glue down right here. I'm going to use some hot glue so he stays in there real good. Right there. Okay, the next piece is this. And what you're going to want to do, make sure I've got this right here. These two hit here, that hits here. And if I'm right, with about a 2-inch strip, if you're using this, we need to bring this up and over. So actually, let's glue this down first so we know where we want. And I'm just going to really quickly use some hot glue here. And when I went and put this on, I did leave an 1/8 inch. I did go an 1/8 inch in with the bling, and the reason why is because as we build our album, if I put it there, it's going to make it more stiffer, not lay so flat. So if you bring it in 1/8, nobody's going to notice, and it doesn't look bad anyway. And you'll see as you build a lot of these on your own how that kind of works. And I didn't worry about it on the first page, but as you get going through these pages, as they get thicker and the book gets thicker. So I did do that. Alright, this is going to be the easiest way. So I got that down. Let's grab our piece here. And it looks like it is this flower right here that needs to sit. So I think what I'm going to do is maneuver this right like so, and that's how it's going to lay. So I'm going to go ahead and apply my glue and put this down here in a moment. The next thing that you are going to want to do is place your larger flower right here, and then the next one that comes on this leaf right here, and then our other little flower, and he gets positioned right on this leaf, right like this. This page is complete after we apply our score tape around the perimeter and one down the middle, and we will center it on our page. Page 5, we are moving right along. You're going to turn your page like this, and you're going to come over 8 inches, and you're going to cut your 8 inches across first. This will go in your reserve scrap pile. Then you're going to go ahead and take this sheet and cut it at 6 inches right down the middle. You now have 2 sheets. This is the right side, left side. However, we're going to use this for page 5. So stick this in your reserves. And make sure your cuts are correct, and it's going to lay in your book and give you about a 1/16 of an inch all the way around. Because remember, our black inner pages are 8 1/8 by 6 1/8, which should allow us a 16th inch around frame. Mine fits perfect. The next thing is I want you to cut a 5-inch strip, and it's going to be 1 3/16 wide. And this is the Martha Stewart 1/2 inch trim piece that I used, trim cutter I should say, and I'm going to go ahead and do that. The first thing I want to do is flip this over, and I'm going to run score tape here around the perimeter, and then I'm going to dab a little bit of white glue here at the tip so that will lay and stick. I have my piece. I took my score tape off, so I am going to go ahead and mount this about an 1/8 inch in from the left side, and also about an 1/8 or 3/16 from the bottom, or from the top. In the meantime, locate your laugh sentiment, and you'll want some crafty or black cardstock. The laugh sentiment is located on the very last sheet. We've already cut into that. It's in your reserves. On the back side, it looks like this. And we're going to go ahead and glue that down and cut around it. Okay, I have a scrap piece that's going to work just fine right here. And all I'm going to do is, it has this on the back and we had already cut into it. All I'm going to do here, so that I make sure that, let's just kind of make a mark. I'm going to go ahead and slice that right on up and over. So it will fit. I've got my piece cut, and it's going to fit nicely right like that. So I am going to glue that down. The next thing is I'm going to cut a 5-inch piece of lace, and I'm going to glue it down right like that. The next is I'm going to go ahead and cut a 5-inch piece of my bling, and where I put it was right here. And I'm going to glue that down just like that. And then I'm going to go ahead and take my little sentiment, and I'm going to glue it down. Right like that. One thing I do want to say, when you're gluing this down, make sure you do not put glue underneath this or get underneath your trim, or else your trim is going to be glued shut and you're not going to be able to get your picture mat. I applied glue right under this little tab here and right here. The next thing that we are going to need is 2 of your flat back pearls, and one gets glued at the top right about here, and the other one right here. You're also, if you're doing your die cuts, I use these 2 sizes. There are 2 of the medium and 1 smaller, but not the smallest. And again, I used currant, but I did the lemonade all over, and then I did currant dark around the edges, and then a light swipe on each one. And then Wink of Stella went on it. I layered it, shaped it of course, and then I used the Stickles gold in the middle. You're also going to need 2 of the leaves. Any leaves will do. If you're using the die cut leaves, that's great. And I inked it as I normally do with oregano and lettuce, and then I hit it with Wink of Stella, and you will need 2 of these. Okay, and I did use the Wink of Stella all over my flowers. I'm going to go ahead and place my first leaf, and I'm going to use the hot glue because it's quick. And my first leaf is going to come right here. And my second leaf is going to be right there. And of course my flower is going to fit right here. This page is done, with the exception of putting the score tape around the perimeter and one down the back. And then we're going to mount this in our book, center it. Moving on to page 6, grab this sheet that's already a 6 by 8 from your reserves, and we're going to go ahead and get a longer strip of black cardstock, and we're going to make a strip that is 2 inches wide. Next, we're going to go ahead and use our trim cutter, and we're going to go ahead and punch that all the way down. We're going to go ahead and put our score tape down the side. Create a side pocket by attaching that and then folding the flaps around the back. Okay, now this one's a little tricky. What we're going to do here, we do need a piece off of this full sheet. You should have this in your paper pack. And what you are going to do, and I'm going to give you the exact measurements, and we're going to get a pencil out. You're going to grab your ruler, and right underneath here, you're going to go ahead and put your ruler right under the purple. And you are going to do 5/16. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And make a pencil mark. You're going to go ahead and chop that off. You should have this. Now I want you to go ahead and turn it, measure up 8 inches, and cut it. You will have these pieces. This goes into reserves. This piece goes into reserves. What you're left with is this. And we're going to go ahead and use this piece, and we are going to go ahead and make a mark right here, and in the yellow and the green is your line there, and chop that off. You're going to go ahead now and from this end measure over 8 inches and chop it. This is now This is now your piece that fits over here. If you find that you are hanging over a little bit, I'll give it a little trim. Go ahead and glue this down now. I'm going to go ahead, I'm using the Kaiser Craft. Go ahead and measure a piece of lace that will fit, and then you're going to cut it. You're going to get your bling on the roll, and you're going to measure a piece that will fit this and cut it. You're going to need 4 flat back pearls, and the first one goes right here. I'm going to go ahead and put the bottom one on so you can keep me straight. Whoops, there it goes. Put one here. And put one right about here. You're going to need 2 butterflies, this one and this one. This butterfly I'm going to show you. It gets inked the same way you did on the cover, with the butterscotch and the bottle and the stream and Wink of Stella on it. And this would look nice too with the glossy accents. I did use the gold stickles and dotted his wings and in the middle. This butterfly has latte in the middle. It has butterscotch on the first layer of wings here, and then the rest was just lemonade. I then went over it with Wink of Stella, and then I used the stickles gold and dotted his wings. So we're going to finish up this page. Mine are still a little wet. I'm going to go ahead and glue this one down right here. And then this butterfly goes, whoops, right here. After you glue those down, the only thing left we have to do is put the score tape on the back like we've been doing and center it in our page. Page 7. This is where we have the top fold out, the bottom fold out, and the side flip with the pocket. In your paper pad, you will find this one. On the back is this. You're going to go ahead and measure right down the middle at 6 inches and cut it. You will now have 2 pieces. Take this one, set it in your reserves, turn this one, measure up 8 inches and cut it. Next you're going to take a piece of black cardstock, and what you're going to do is measure over 5 15/16 and cut it. Put the smaller piece in your reserves. You are going to turn this and you are going to cut this at 5 3/4. In your reserves you will find this, and you are going to need both of these panels, so go ahead and cut that right down. You're going to separate those 2 panels. Stick this one right off to the side. We're not quite ready for it yet. And we are going to be working with this one. Trim 1/8 off this side and this side. Okay, make sure that you have this in front of you. This should be 5 3/4 long. It should be 5 15/16 wide. Let's just make sure our width is going to fit, and it is. As you can see, there's black on both sides. Now we need to trim the bottom. And you are going to trim right underneath this black line here and also here. You now should have it looking like this, and it's going to fit really nice. So what I want you to do, if you on the bottom of the first flap, if you notice on the corner, I had a corner punch that I used for decorating the corner edges, and I'm going to go ahead and use that. You do not have to do that. If you do, then you will be following the rest of getting your paper to fit with that there. If not, you're going to be squared at the bottom. So for those of you that are using a punch, you're going to bring this all the way down to leave a little bit of black and make sure you're even in between here. And this is kind of like the same thing we did before to make sure it fits. We're just going to go ahead and fold up a flap here so that we can get this to fit good, and a flap here. Now all I'm going to do is fold this back, and I am going to snip it across. And I've got that cut to fit. And like I said, if you did not want the corner fancy punch, you'll just square that up to make sure that it fits down like that. Now, in the original, I did not actually use a magnet underneath this. However, I am going to install it. So if you are limited on magnets, make sure you have 2 for the very last page. You will need that, and you also will need 2 for the next page to keep that expandable pocket shut. So if you've got plenty, just make sure you have 4 in reserve, and we can go ahead and do this. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to slip this right underneath there. And I think, and make sure I got 1 magnet. I do. And here's the mate. It's probably going to catch my scissors. And now all I'm going to do is center this, and I'm going to go ahead and glue it down. You're going to grab your scoreboard next and sit this down. And since mine doesn't have the 16ths where it hits, I'm going to hit about a 16th above my top of my card front here. Okay. And I'm going to go ahead and get a crease going. I'm going to go ahead and flip that over. And I am going to do it at about 1/8. Find my 1/8. Next, in your reserves, you will find this 6x6 panel. On this side is a very small print. On the other side is the large print. We want the small print, and we definitely want this to fit. We're going to go ahead and trim 1/8 off each side. Then you're going to go ahead and measure up 1 1/4 and slice it. Check to make sure that you are fitting. And I'm going to do that, making sure I'm not in my score line. And I'm going to center this. And I do have black showing at the top, which is a good thing. Now you do the same thing. You fold back your corners so that you can get a accurate cut for what's needed. And snip it. And then you're going to go ahead and glue this down. Stick this off to the side and work on the bottom one. You're going to get a piece of cardstock. You're going to repeat what we just did. You're going to measure over 5 15/16, and you're going to chop it. Then you'll turn it, measure over 5 3/4, and you will chop it again. Locate this piece in your paper pack and go ahead and cut it at 6 inches right down the middle. Put this one in reserves. Up here, what you are going to do is turn it 4 7/8 and chop it. Now, looking at this, where you can see the writing is right side at you, go ahead and measure across to 5 13/16 and chop it off. Okay, this is the bottom hinge. We're working on the bottom hinge now. So if you are going to use this, or you can just keep it a square, I'm going to go ahead and make sure I'm going the right way here, because I have been known to, yeah, it's this side now, to get myself all turned around. Same procedure as before, where we pull back a side on each. We do want to place our magnet though. So what you're going to do is grab your pencil really quick, something that will erase, and draw a line at the bottom of your page. You can go ahead and clip off your extras too right here. Go about a 1/16 where under that line we made, and then we're going to go 1/8. And we're going to go ahead and fold that back. We're actually going to lay this piece when we're done hinging everything to the main page. But check your work here. We do need the sentiment, "Life is beautiful," and we're going to back that with the crafty cardstock or the black cardstock. So this is the sentiment that we are looking for. It is in your reserves. I did back mine with the crafty, and I'm going to go ahead and glue it right on down to this bottom corner. You can now set this piece aside. Now what we're looking for is in your reserves. You do have this sheet, and this is the one that we want, so let's cut that. And again, let's go about 1/8 off of each side. So I know that that's going to fit. Now I'm going to turn it and go to 4 7/8 and chop that. Looking at your flap, it's going to attach to the bottom of our paper. We already said that this goes here, and we're going to set that off to the side. So if we were to flip this down, this is where this belongs. And according to those cuts, that should work. So fold back your corners, trim off the excess, and you can glue this piece right on down. In your reserves, you will find this sentiment believe. Grab some crafty or black cardstock. You're going to go ahead and mount that on there and cut around it. And then you will need a small flower. And with that one, all I did was the butterscotch all over. I did a little bit of currant on the edges. I used Dusty Concord over the petals, and then I dabbed it with a little bit of cranberry. And then after the Wink Stella was applied, I went ahead and put a liquid pearl in there. And I did cover this with Wink Stella as well. And make sure your flap is facing up, and glue Believe down right here. And then your flower lays right there. There. Now you can go ahead and set this off to the side with this piece. We're going to work on our fold out. Locate this in your paper pad. It's the same sheet we had used before. However, what we're going to do is we want this card front panel here. So let's go ahead and cut that out. Now, if you have a piece of scratch paper this wide that you can just butt this up, this will be the easiest, quickest way. You can see I have a little bit of a tail here off to the side, and it's about a 1 inch. So grab it like this, leaving the black around the edges, and go ahead and cut a 1/16 across the bottom. I have mine cut, and get your scoreboard out. Place your piece of cardstock up there. Make sure that you have about a 1/16 of an inch off to the left. And then you're going to go ahead and score a 1/16 from the edge here. Go ahead and do another 1/16. That's the quickest way to do some fold out cuts, and when you're designing these, is go by what you got here. So this particular one, the flap needs to be off to the left, and we can go ahead and glue this down now. Locate this card front from your reserves and trim 1/2 inch in from each side. Now we're going to go ahead and trim off this piece so all you see is the orange, and glue it down. So now what you're going to do is get a 2.5 inch by 5 inch of your black cardstock. I'm using the Deep Edge Punch roller coaster from Martha Stewart. Now before gluing this down, you're going to make sure that you fit across, and I do. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is put score tape around here, and then I'm going to dot the sides with some white glue. Now in your reserves you will have this piece. Measure what you're going to need. I need about a 1 1/4 inch by 5 inch. There is no embellishment on this. If you would like to put one there, go ahead. It's time for us to do some assembly. The first thing is this fold out, and I'm going to go ahead and center that, flip it over, and glue it down. The next one I want to do is the bottom one, right up here. Making sure I'm over to the black on the left hand side, and definitely not over so far that I'm to the right. Get my top piece, hook it on over. Make sure I am with the bottom one, which I am. And I'm going to flip that on over and glue it down. So to place our magnet, what we want to do is flip this up, put your magnet down, dab a little glue there in the middle, bring this down, and then up. Now you know where your magnet needs to be. Go ahead and glue this down. This page is almost done. All we have left to do is we are going to measure out some bling on the roll right across the bottom, like so. And we're going to put a bow right in the middle like we did on the other page, and a flat back pearl in the middle, like this. This page is done. Flip it on over, put your score tape down or around the perimeter. I've got glue stuck to me. And go ahead and put one down the middle on this. Okay, page 8. This one, I'm going to have you follow along real closely. There won't be a whole lot of edits. It's this one. It's actually the expandable pocket, and it's not hard to do. Just follow right along. In your reserves, you will have this sheet. It's not quite 12 inches because we did take a strip off. I need you to turn that and chop it at 8 inches. We're going to apply our score tape around the perimeter, one down the middle, and mount this in our book. Grab a piece of 8.5 by 11 cardstock, measure over to 5.5 inches, and chop it. Put this in your reserves, turn it, and cut it at 10 1/4. Place your sheet on your scoreboard, and you are going to score it at 7 1/8. From the 7 1/8 score line, you are going to measure up 3/8. 1, 2, 3, and you're going to score it. You will want to burnish your scores on this. Set this off to the side. We're going to need another sheet of 8.5 by 11 black cardstock, and I want you to, at 1.5 inches, score it. Make sure you score it really good. Measuring from that score line, go to 5 3/8 and score it there. Now go ahead and turn your paper like so, and I want you to measure over from the side 7 1/16 and score it. On this side, measure over 1.5 and cut that. I'm going to bring this closer so you can see. Here's your bottom score. There's 2 over here. Turn it, and I want you to measure from this bottom score line 1/4 inch, and we are going to score that. I think I got it right on. I'm going to bring this up so you can see. This is the bottom going all the way across and the 2 sides down here. Now, we're going to go ahead on this score line and snip it, this little corner out. As even as possible. I'm going to do that here too. And right here, just a little snip. And I should have told you, we do need to get this little flap off as well. There we go. That looks right. There. Now, you are going to want to measure from this side flap, from your first score here, 1/8, and score it. Where this will line up for me. I think that's about right. Make sure your scores are good. We're going to do it again. 1/8 from that score. I gotta find my line. I think that's it. Whoops, it's a little thinner than it should be. You're going to measure up about 1/8 and do it again. And one more time. I think I've got mine pretty thin, but let's see. That should be good. We're going to do the same over here. Measure up from this side 1/8, score it. I think it's right about here. It's hard to tell on my scoring board. And you're going to do it again, about 1/8, and another 1/8, and one more. This is what you should have. Go ahead and fold down here. Use your, we want some crisp, good creases here. Start folding this. Okay. We are going to start with the first inner score, and you're going to pull it all the way over, trying to be right on that, and we are going to burnish that. Okay. We are then going to go to the next line. And score it. And then the next. And then the next. And then there's one more. Go ahead and repeat that for this side. Remember, we start going inward first. This is what you should have right now. I do want you to tack something down. I want you to make sure your folds are down. Push it down nice. Go ahead and put a couple pieces here of score tape, just where it will hit, not over past that. Just a little bit. Alright, all I want to do is just tack this down so it's easier. So squeeze this together all the way down. Peel this off your score tape. Make sure you bring that corner up right there and pinch that side. So now you can see what you have. This side, get it ready here, squeeze it, and put your fingers in there. You're not going to tear this cardstock too easily. The same thing here, remove that, and carefully this corner needs to go right at that corner, and try to get that straight and pinch that. Okay. We are almost done here. Now, this we may have to shave down a little bit. From the back, if you slide this, let's see, I think I may have, okay. Let's see how this fits. Slide that in on the back, the very last crease, slide that in, and I think we may have to do some trimming here. But let's find out first. Let's trim it. Go ahead and take a 1/16 off one side. Go ahead and remove a 1/16 off the other. Alright, let's give this a shot now. Putting it in the last one here. Let's see if we can get this to slide in better. Looks like we are going to be fine with that. This should slide all the way down. Evenly. Making sure we get in that very back. We still have yet to do the back right here, but we're not going to worry about that just yet. So now all we have to do is lay that down. We're going to cut off about a 5 1/4 inch piece here. We could have already put that down in there. We're just going to slide this right underneath here. And we'll do the same over here. About a 5 1/4. Just slide it right on in there. Just like that. Remove your score tape. Flip it over, put your hand in, and smooth it down. If you need to fiddle with your little side things and smooth them out again, go ahead. It's supposed to be expanded, so it's not going to sit flat. If you're a little off in the back, it's not a big deal because your pocket is pretty good. Now, at this point is we're going to do our little folding trick. And the easiest way to get an even on both sides is go ahead and flip a side there. Okay. You can see where your scoring is from when you folded it. Chop that off. That's where it used to be. What you want to do now is take this, flip it over, and go right on over to this side with it. So we have the same thing. Match it up and cut. Oh, my hair off, that's alright. So now you have an even. That wasn't too painful, was it? I didn't think it was. It looks like it would be difficult, but it's not. Okay, in your scrap pile you should have a full 6 inch by 12 inch. We want this. So what we are going to do is turn it Measure down 6 7/8 and cut it. Now you're going to measure across to 5 1/4 and cut it. You should be fitting very well, and you will have more of, if you notice, if you bring that down a little bit here, you'll notice you'll have a gap up here with, not a gap, but more black than normal. That's what we want. Now there are two ways to do the, excuse me, I keep hitting the camera. There are two ways to do this little dip. If you have one of these, you can go ahead and snip it a half or whatever, how deep you want it, okay? If you do not have something like that, just as easy to get some sort of half circle in there is a cup. You can go around a bottle of glue. Look for the size that you want. If you want it, that's all you have to do to get that little dip if you don't have a cutter. So all I'm going to do here is I'm just going to eyeball this, and I think I'll try that. Okay. In order for me to get the dip in the back, this is how I've always done it. Maybe it's a little weird, but I just kind of hold my thing in place there. I slide it right over. If you're using this, it'll be very easy for you. Just trace around this bottle. I usually just come in with that. But if you are using the tracing method, you can just set your bottle right there and go around and snip it. I'll show you this way, just in case you do. I kind of eyeball and see where it is that the green's going to be, and then I just come up and snip and hope I got pretty even. And I did okay there. If you have this scrap piece, which I think you do, you should, if we've been following along and haven't made any mistakes, but you will have this piece right there. So, and it will fit perfectly once we do a little trimming. Measure over 5 1/4 and chop it. Now turn it 2 9/16. Go ahead and trim that. We should fit okay now, and we are. So the first thing is we do need a magnet. Oh, mercy. And we can go ahead and use a white glue, or I have this. Where is my white glue? Stick that down. Leave a little black at the top, a little black here. We're going to fold that up on the side so we can get a nice fit. I think that's good enough. On this, all I'm going to do is fold it back. I am going to tack this down. You can trim yours off. And glue that down. Let's go ahead and do our little trick with the magnet. Find it, dab a little glue in the middle, press. Now we know where our magnet goes. Let's go ahead and place our cover piece to this expandable pocket. You should now have this. We're going to go ahead right now before we embellish it and stuff, and we're going to put score tape on this. Score tape goes around the perimeter of this, And you do want 2 down the middle. And right under here, if you need to add a little glue so that sticks, go ahead and do that. Got mine all done. I'm going to remove it. I'm going to grab my album and I'm going to show you where I'm going to place that. I've removed all the score tape. Now, take into consideration we are very thick on these sides from our expandable. We do not want to get it close. We're going to go ahead and center it as best we can, but we're going to move it over a little bit more. Whoops, my insides need to be pushed in there. There we go. I can't, if I look over my, I think I got that pretty straight. Now open it up. Put your hand inside and smooth that down. If you need to go ahead and push in your sides for your expanding, go ahead and do that. Smooth it on down. You're good. And you should have a nice looking. We do need to add a flat back pearl. And we have to do our pocket. That looks good to me. On one of your scrap pieces, like when we were scoring and we cut off the bottom, measure on over 5 1/4 and chop it. Now measure down 1 1/2 and cut it. I'm going to go ahead and use this Martha Stewart. It's a 1/2 inch trim punch, and I'm going to punch it all the way across. I'm gonna lay my score tape like we did before on the sides, the bottom, and up. Maybe dab a little white glue at these tips over here, and I'm going to mount that right there. I just found this piece in my scraps, and I used it. I think it was this one. I used it down here. All I'm going to do now is trim this to fit down here. The last thing that I need to add to this is a butterfly. And what I used was butterscotch through here. Then I covered the rest of his wings with lemonade. I took cranberry and lightly shaded in, a little lighter and darker, hit the edges with currant. Then I used the Winkostella, then went back with the Stickles Gold or glitter glue, and I dotted his wings and outlined his body. This page is done. Let's move on to the next.